Other news at the Tambo Airports Company South Africa says its technicians are working tirelessly to resolve the baggage sortation system in the domestic terminal at OR Tambo International Airport, which affected travellers on the 22nd and the 23rd of December. The malfunctioning of the system led to several bags not being loaded onto the scheduled departed flights, resulting in passengers not receiving their baggage when they arrived at their destination. The bags had to be sent on later flights. ACSA has issued an apology to travellers for baggage delays out of OR Tambo International Airport. So for more on this, we're going to be joined via video link by Terence Delomoney, Group Executive Operations Manager at ACSA. Terence, good afternoon and thanks for your time with us here on the SABC at this hour.
Good afternoon.
Terence, at this point, perhaps you could just give us an update as to how things are faring on your end, given what's transpired on the 22nd and 23rd of December regarding the luggage situation at OR Tambo.
Yes, thank you. Perhaps just to indicate that the problem was experienced on the 22nd and 23rd with the baggage sortation system. And, overall over those 2 days, we would have processed approximately 78,000 bags in total at the airport over those 2 days. Of those 78,000 bags, about 4,500 bags were actually impacted by the problem we had on one of our sortation systems. We have 5 of those, and one was problematic, specifically in the domestic terminal. As you can imagine, it was very difficult for airlines, for passengers now missing their bags at their arrival airport. And we must just reiterate our apology, sincerest apologies to those passengers. It's a difficult time not to be reunited with your bags. But the issue was then resolved by Saturday afternoon, the 23rd, and baggage operations have since been normalized. Obviously, the big effort was then to get those bags through to passengers. The airlines lost baggage officers were really busy with their delivery services. And as ACSA, we have partnered with the airlines and those delivery services to try and get as many bags delivered to those passengers. And some of them even came back to the airport to pick up the bags. And I'm happy to note that, as we speak, of those 4,500 bags that were impacted, as we said today, there's about approximately 140 bags that are still to be collected across the country. Yes, it's still 140 bags that have not been reunited with their owners, but at least that number has come down, and most of those passengers that were impacted have now received their baggage.
Thank you, Terence, for that update. I wonder those who were catching connecting flights, how were they impacted? Especially people who were returning from the destination they were meant to go to.
Yes, certainly. With connecting flights, in this case, because we are traveling out of OR Tambo, most of the passengers were actually getting to their final point of destination. So if they were connecting flights, those bags would have also then been sent on later connecting flights, which would have had the same impact. I think the difficulty at this time of the year, if people get to a place like at Cape Town, get to Cape Town Airport or get to King Shaka, they're not necessarily traveling close by around those airports. They're traveling out quite a distance, and therefore, getting those bags to those passengers becomes quite a difficulty and a logistics issue. But it's the same process that's involved, where passengers may elect to come into the airport, but a number of bags are delivered by the airlines' baggage delivery companies. And as I indicated, we also assisted by bringing in some additional capacity there to get those bags out.
What exactly was the issue that transpired?
So essentially, the baggage sortation system is really quite a sophisticated mechanical and electronic system that we have. And the initial diagnosis, obviously, engineers will still give us a final report. Our focus was really on doing a repair. So one of the electronic systems failed at that point in time. That matter was short-circuited, but in doing that, remember, we couldn't take that carousel completely out of operation because it was really over the 2 busier days that we had. So the repairs had to be done at night. And essentially, then we needed to move into a manual contingency plan, which we have when we have a baggage failure. So really, it was an electronic problem on the carousel itself.
All right, so given that issue, I mean, are you able to quantify the costs associated? And for those who didn't have travel insurance, are they going to be compensated duty given the interim provisions that they've had to make?
Yes, well, I can't at this point in time quantify any costs. Obviously, that's quite a difficult thing to do because each individual is impacted differently. And what would need to happen is that passengers, obviously, first and foremost, would have to contact their airlines because there are terms and conditions on the ticket purchase from the airline in terms of how lost baggage is dealt with. So for a passenger, the first point of contact would be the airline, and the airline will deal with that passenger. And obviously between the airlines and ACSA itself, there are conditions of use agreements, and depending on what the final costs are, that matter will be discussed with airlines at a later stage. But I can't quantify the actual cost of this.
All right, at this point, how are you going to ensure that this doesn't happen again, given that it is a festive period and it is a busy time for the country at large?
Yes, and I think that has been the disappointment. There's been a lot of preparation. There's a lot that goes into keeping those systems up and running and maintained. So for now, the system continues to be running. We obviously have technicians and engineers that are on standby, and that's the case during normal operations as well. I think importantly is to do further, fault finding, root cause analysis, and ensure that going forward we are able to repair the issue quicker than it happened this time around. But I must also at this point say that we're dealing with sophisticated electronic and mechanical systems, and breakages do happen. And I would be lying if I came on national TV and said this will not happen again. We'll try our level best to ensure that this does not occur, but it's quite possible that it can. And in fact, baggage system failures happen at all airports all over the world. Currently, if you look at some of our airports in South Africa, there are a number of short ship bags that come in from European countries, from abroad, because of exactly those issues. And I'm not saying it's a norm. We have to work hard to reduce these events.
Absolutely, Terence. But also, just given the communication to date from the airlines, but also for people to contact ACSA or the airlines, how effective has that been? How do people also go about doing that? You did mention that there were still about 140 bags that have been unaccounted for or are not collected yet.
Yeah, so what will happen is that, in fact, those passengers would contact the airline lost property office, because when they would have arrived at their destination airport, they would have approached the lost property officers. They would have been given a number, and they would have exchanged details with the airlines. Obviously, airlines already have the details of those passengers. And once those bags are arrived, each of those passengers are contacted, and then they will make arrangements as to how those bags will reach those passengers. Either they will come back to the airport to fetch them, or arrangements for delivery to be made. So there's direct contact between the airline lost property officers and the passengers.
All right, Terence, let me wrap up this conversation just very quickly. Whilst you're on national television, what assurance do you have at this point that all systems go for those who've tuned in, for travelers alike, particularly as we edge closer to New Year's as well?
No, absolutely. And as I said, there's plans in place, and all systems go. As we speak now, the system is operating. We have the relevant people on standby, with also senior management presence at the airports. So we do urge all of our passengers, because it's still the busy time, peak time. Let's try to get to the airport slightly earlier than you would normally do. Give yourself enough time to check in, because the volumes, there are significant volumes of passengers, which is more than normal. There's significant amount of bags, which are more than normal. So we're just asking that if you would come in a bit earlier, so we make sure that if there's any problem, we can still have time to get through to process those passengers and those bags. But it's all systems go at this point in time.
All right, Terence, thank you for your time with us here on the SABC and for weighing in. Terence Delomoney, Group Executive Operations Management at ACSA, just chatting to us, assuring that it is all systems go. Airports Company South Africa saying its technicians are, of course, working tirelessly to resolve the baggage sortation system in the domestic terminal at OR Tambo International Airport. He says that there were issues with the remaining 4,500 bags, but to date, only 140 bags are yet to be picked up. This was due to issues that occurred on the 22nd and the 23rd of December.